Hello everybody, Haku here with my review for episode 2 of Kokkoku, since I'm doing episode 1 and 2 of these separately for reviews. Yeah, really good. This is gonna maybe be on the longish side. I never really know by note length how long the review will be, but I actually came away with a lot of notes from this one. There was a lot of content in one episode to discuss. But just know in general, I liked it a ton. This is one of my favorite shows, if not my favorite show this season, though it is still kind of early in the season to be making any kind of judgment calls like that. But either way, we start off with a flashback to several months ago, and we see that the guys in those uniforms from the last episode are stone worshippers. They worship the stone. I forget what their cult's name was. Like the cult of the delightful love or something like that, some just weird name, but they're stone worshippers and they're after the master stone because apparently the master stone is better than the one they've got. Then the grandpa calls the big thing that shows up a handler rather than a herald, so that confused me at first, but it gets explained later on. But the herald, I'm gonna call it that because I think that's a cooler name. Even though I think the handler is actually the real name. But it kills the problematic guy that was threatening Makoto and then disappears. So Grandpa and Judy teleport out of there, and Grandpa explains that the handler is, well, something that it stops people from breaking the rules of stasis. But he mentions that he doesn't, and this is probably one of the things in this episode that I came away liking the most. Even the grandpa doesn't know all the rules, so they could break the rules from not even knowing what they are, just accidentally break them, and then get taken out by a herald or a handler. So yeah, I just think that's really cool that there are rules to this, and that is the punishment. The handler is there to enforce those rules, but they don't know what the rules are. It's not like something set in stone for them. Then he mentions that he can't teleport the stalled, so that he can't use that to go back and rescue Makoto and the brother. Then that's when we get to see the cult calling it a herald, so we learn the difference between herald and handler. They're the same thing, but different people call it by different names. Actually, the grandpa mentions that the herald is one of their ancestors, or supposedly, but he says that people who mess around too long in the stasis become heralds. So I guess that means people who overuse the ability rather than people who break the rules. But either way, the guy who was killed in stasis turns into this weird jellyfish thing and enters the brother, causing him to wake up. So the jellyfish things are going to be very important. Maybe they're the souls of people who've died in stasis. No idea, since this guy died and immediately turned into a jellyfish that flew into the brother and woke him up. And they call it jellyfish later on, so I guess that's just what I'll call it. So the black-haired chick from the opening and ending finally arrives, and I believe her name's Majima, and I think the guy who was sort of leading the cult there was Sagawa, and the two of those say, like, the way they talk to each other, it seems like they're actually researching the stasis, and they're just using the cult for their own ends, kind of. Then the grandpa brings it up, and it is crazy to think about. He brings up, we need to find out how they got here, because I didn't realize this. I didn't put two and two together last week or this week until they mentioned it. But the stasis is just freezing time. So in order for them and another group of people to be there at the same time, that means they would have had to have frozen time at the exact same time, even a fraction of a second off, and they would have ended up in two different moments. So yeah, they had to have timed it perfectly for this to happen, and I didn't even notice that. So that was one of the crazier things in the episode as well. But he says that they need to go and save the dad since he came in with him. He needs to go back out with them as well. And then once they rescue him, they can leave and then enter stasis again. And if they jump back out and enter right back again, then it should create enough of a gap there and enough mystery there that they won't be able to jump at the same exact time as them again, and they'll be alone. Then Judy asks if she can learn teleportation, but she can't do it even when he tells her how he does it. And the grandfather mentions that his grandfather couldn't do it either, and that it's something that's difficult to control even for him who can achieve it. He also mentions that it might have something to do with the jellyfish inside of them. So maybe that means each person who goes into the each person who has a jellyfish inside them and gets to be able to be awake in the stasis, maybe they have their own power or ability, and his just happens to be teleportation, and that's a concept that'll be introduced later on. But this could be foreshadowing for something like that. Then the grandpa says he's going for the save, and Judy needs to go get the stone and meet back up with him, which seemed like a dumb idea, because well, I mean, not really, but it also seems like he should have probably been able to tell logically that the stone's probably a pretty big target that they need to take care of, because if they don't take care of it, then they're going to be absolutely screwed here. But he tells her to do that, and then I love when we cut back over to the leader of the cult or whatever, and the guy who's with them, the guy who's Sagawa, I believe his name is, when we cut back to them and they're drinking, I love how instead of there being a plot hole and the animators forgetting that time is frozen, I love how the liquid in the bottle is just like, it floats wherever they move it. So I like the way that was animated a lot. I thought that was just a unique little background detail. Then Majimo's walking by herself, and she says that she's back in this world after 17 years. We see a quick flash to her as a child in the stasis, but I don't know where it's going. We don't really have information on that yet. Then the brother, since he's conscious, he unravels the stuff they used to tie him up. He's worried about Makoto because, of course, he doesn't know what's going on. I mean, I figured when he saw the other people frozen, he should have been like, okay, Makoto's frozen like the rest of these people. But either way, he freaks out and starts blaming himself and tries to get him to a hospital. So I actually really like the brother's character. I think I don't know, I think I like the grandfather's character a bit more, but he's one of my favorite characters. So then the grandfather finds the second stone after entering the cult's place, and he also finds camera feeds to his house. So they've been watching them for quite a while, and they were just waiting for him to use the stone so that they could time this. Judy then starts getting paranoid about this world and what happens if she accidentally breaks a rule. She's being followed but doesn't notice it, and then the grandfather realizes they're after the stone all along, and Judy gets choked out at the end. So yeah, I thought it was really great. I think Majima's going to end up turning and being a good guy because she's in the opening and ending the way she is. But either way, so that'll probably be how Judy gets out of this. But I thought it was a great episode. I love the concept of the rules and heralds, the way that the heralds are there to just to enforce these rules, but nobody really knows the rules. I mean, we know so far, basically, don't try to kill one of the stalled. So, yeah, don't do that is basically the only rule they know. What if a rule is don't wander too far from where the stone you used to enter is? Like, there could be any number of rules they have no idea about that could cause trouble with the heralds. Also, one part of this that was brought up by by Sagawa, I guess, was saying that the heralds were smaller than they were in their like ancient teachings and stuff, so he's thinking maybe they got weaker over time, and he brings up maybe using one of the hired thugs they've got to test that theory. So basically using them as a human guinea pig here. And I guess we'll get that next episode. But yeah, I thought there was great mystery and tension. I thought it was exciting. I think the whole show itself, the concept and everything is very much, very cool. And I like the characters a lot. I really like Judy. The grandfather I might like even more, though he's a really good character. And I like the brother too. So yeah, I think they're all really good characters. And the poor father, he's just been like tied up and carried off by the thugs that the cult had hired. Also, the opening and ending are both really, really good. I praised the opening a bunch last week. Still think it's definitely super, super unique and strong and creative. But I like the ending a lot too. As a score, I'd inch it a little bit above last week's episode, maybe. So I'd give it 8.75. 8.75 handlers out of 10. That wasn't the most creative I could have gone with that, but 8.75 out of 10. Hope you enjoyed the video. Like if you did like it, comment down there to tell me what you thought of this week's episode, what you thought of my thoughts on it. Subscribe for more of this, much more on the channel. Covering this, citrus, and Mitsubishi colors for now. Might add something else if I really feel strongly about it and want to, or if any of you feel strongly about it and really want me to review something else. Episode 3's review will be up as soon as I can get it up. Since the episode's already out, I'm just going to be trying to do it as soon as possible, but I've got some other things I've got to get reviews up for too. But yeah, either way, that's it. I'll be trying to do the best I can. Then once I'm caught up, whenever a new episode comes out, I'll be getting the review up ASAP. So yeah, like, comment, subscribe, follow on Twitter if you want. I can try to keep you updated there and stuff for the channel. If you want a link to our Discord server to talk with me or more of us on the Discord, just ask and I'll give you a link to the server. So that's it. Thank you once again for watching, and I'll see you all next time.